morning, and welcome back to another episode of the Blurred Church of Anime. I am your preacher, your teacher, your cult leader, whatever you want to call me, the messenger for the day. I am Black Star here to kick it with you and hopefully share another inspiring message. We'll see how we get to that, because boy, do I kind of have a doozy. I don't know. How are y'all? How was your week? My week was so busy. Oh my gosh. Insanely busy. Had to be at work earlier. Had like big projects doing. Felt like I couldn't get enough stuff together. Like hanging out with friends this weekend. It is crazy, but in a good way. Sometimes you need those like really, really busy weeks. I don't know what to tell you. I I'm not gonna complain about it. I'm just gonna say it kept me on my toes, doing a lot of things. Also, the eighth book for Dungeon Crawler Crawl came out, and I am like trying to get through those last two books. Like I am internally screaming. So much is happening. Okay, anyway, no spoils for that. But how are you? How was your week? Was it challenging? Was it super jam packed? Was it a low key week? I know coming off from a Mother's Day, I didn't really do the typical Mother's Day message last week because my brain just doesn't want to connect that it was Mother's Day. It's fine. But yeah, I hope it was a good week. And if it wasn't, you know what we always say. F last week. If it wasn't a good week for you, we believe that this week will be better. More things coming your way because life can't always suck. It may suck for a while. It may, yeah, but it can't always suck. At least we believe or try to keep that hope alive. Um, Announcements. I was supposed to make this announcements last week. We have an official website, y'all. Oh my gosh. Took a while, wanted to premiere it for BlurCon, but that didn't happen. But yes, if you go to blurredchurchofanime.com, I'm going to put it somewhere around here, blurredchurchofanime.com, you will see our website. It'll have all our latest episodes up and running. So whether or not you're following us on Spotify, on Instagram, on YouTube, like whenever we release an episode, it will be there for you to find. And if we ever do all the stuff like with Patreon or like a jazz, it will be connected through that website as well. Of course, you should be following us on Instagram. I don't really plug a lot of stuff. I'm trying really, really hard to keep us on top of our social media, but I am bad at my own social media. So yeah. Uh, but yeah, the website is up and about. This week, I really, since we're still in mental health month, mental health May of a month, I realized I've been talking a lot about teenagers because, yeah, okay, teenagers is beyond some stuff. Like, teenager, being a teenager means so much stuff is happening, but it doesn't mean that we aren't concerned about adults. You know, you made it through your teenage years. Now, as an adult, what's happening? And so I try to think about animes that dealt with being an adult and going through like depression or something in nature. Did not want to go through BoJack Horseman. There's so many really great hour-long video essays off of YouTube about BoJack Horseman. Wanted to get back to an anime, and then I was thinking through like, what's really emotional, and I thought about A Silent Voice. Although it always comes back to what happened in your formative years, elementary, middle school, high school, whatever. And then I realized I need to probably rewatch A Silent Voice. Then I was like, I don't know if I can handle rewatching A Silent Voice because the first time I watched that, let me tell you, it wrecked me. I was not crying. And as someone in my real life who's had to deal with suicide and suicide ideations and completed suicides in that nature, um, I've not rewatched that since having those incidents happen. And I am actually kind of interested to see what my take would be on that movie, going through what I've gone through. But I need to be in a good place. And I think I'm gonna talk about it with my therapist before I just launch in there and be like, let me tell y'all how this it could go really badly. We're not gonna shoot my mental health just so y'all can get a message out of it. Um, and I already got traumatic things coming up this month. Like I've already decided for Memorial Day weekend, I am finally going to finish watch that last season of My Hero Academia. I am going to be broke that weekend. I'm not going to go nowhere. I am going to sit my butt home and I am going to have all my favorite foods, all my comfort foods, from my French toast to pancakes to meatloaf to whatever. I'm buying it. I've already had a plan and I'm just going to sit and I'm going to finish this season, finish this last season. I, so we'll see. You'll see me on the other end of that, and then I'm doing my anime fast. So I am not trying to do too much heavy stuff before we get to that. And like I said, I think I mentioned this last week after my anime fast. I think I'm going to just go through with Digimon. Build myself up. Go back through what I loved when I was a kid, getting into anime, and Digimon was definitely that. Get all up to where we are currently with Beatbox. So yeah, all of that. So I got plans. I can't just be dropping a silent voice in the middle of all that. Yeah. Um, so yeah, so I was like, okay, can't do that. What can I do? And then it hit me like the main antagonist of this series, Paranoia Agent. How many of y'all remember watching Paranoia Agent? Because I realized maybe a couple of years ago I had never seen it in the original Japanese. Because I watched it on Cartoon Network when it came out. It Paranoia Agent is such an interesting show. And so like if you've never seen Paranoia Agent, let me give you the drop. All right. So Paranoia Agent is this anime produced by Madhouse, um, directed by Satoshi Kon, who is known for having like these psychological thriller movies in the late 90s, early 2000s. I think it came out like in 2006 on Cartoon Network, late night, whatever. But yeah, so the main idea is that there is this kid nicknamed Little Slugger. It's a kid in some golden inline skates, a cap, and this bent golden bat who's going around just knocking people inside the head with a bat. So there's several attacks. Some people die, some people don't, and you're trying to figure out why is this kid attacking people? And you're kind of watching all this interesting things around it. And what I love about this is that like it's not just one story, it's a lot of different stories converging, a lot of different characters around this attacker. And he's assaulting people on in Tokyo, and towards the end it becomes this big metaphorical. So like those last episodes are wild, wild, and I am not going to spoil everything on this show, but I think it's very interesting watching Paranoia Agent, and I remember watching it as a kid, teenager, being like, okay, this is weird, and then like rewatching it as an adult and being like, oh, this is, huh, and I think when I think about depression and mental health and adult and just being like pushed to the edge, Paranoia Agent kind of comes up for me because we get a multitude of characters, some of them adults, some of them kids, it's a whole gang. And then again, this is like some middle school, some sixth grade kid going around with some roller skates, knocking people inside the head with a bat, right? But the main character is, or the first person who's attacked by Little Slugger is what's her name? Like Sukiko Saji. Sukiko is like a character designer. She's come up with this little pink little dog looking thing, Moromi, which you'll see throughout, like in the intro and the essay. Moromi just takes up a lot more space, and you're like, why? And that all comes apparent towards the end. But she's made this like little mascot, kind of like if you think of the mascot like a Hello Kitty, where it's gotten super popular, cartoons and merchandise for this thing, and now she's being asked by her boss to come up with the next big thing because you can't just skate on the one thing you created. You gotta keep pumping them out. I mean, Hello Kitty isn't just Hello Kitty; she has a full rack of like characters behind her, including a little sister, which I just found out. Anyway, so Sukiko is like, okay, cool, except no. I don't have no other ideas. It's like Maromi is just like came at a perfect time, it just meshed. And because of her work, she's starting to feel like really pressured and feeling like she's about to fail at work, she might get fired, all these things. And then Lil Slugger comes out of nowhere and bats her across the head, and Now we're not talking about her creating a new character. Now she's a victim. Now she has to deal with this investigation with police officers that really don't believe her. At least you got the good cop, bad cop thing going on. One cop is like, nah, she did this. She's like totally Jussie Smolletting it. I should not say that. I'm gonna strike that out. But she's totally doing it. Like she's making this whole thing up. And the other one's like, nah, no, we gotta do it. And then someone else gets hit by Lil Slugger, and it's like, okay, she was there, she couldn't done it, so maybe this thing is coming through. And so we are following kind of like this investigation into who is Lil Slugger and what's the connection with all the people he's hitting. And the first couple of characters, or first couple of episodes, as we're getting into the situation with Lil Slugger, is that like he's going after people who are pushed into a corner. Like folk who are mentally like what's the best way for me? It's like sometimes when I'm like in a job I don't love and I got a lot on my plate, I'm working really hard, I'm like, I want to get the flu. I want to have the flu so I have a credible reason for me to just sleep for 3 days and not go to work. And everybody knows that like I'm not doing it because I hate my job. I'm doing it because I'm actually like sometimes I just like want to be sick. Like I remember I was teaching at one point. I was like, I just want to be sick. Because you don't want to take a sick day when you're not sick, because then there's a lot of extra work that goes into it and to come back to it. And then people are like, were you really sick? Especially if you're in like really toxic work environments. But you want that thing to come around to distract you from all the other things that are like falling around you. It's like you want this temporary oasis. And Little Slugger seems to provide that with certain people that he assaults. Life is hard. They're doing some things, and a little Slugger comes out, brains them, and they're like, cool. No one's asking about these other things anymore. And I'm talking about like this crooked cop who was like stealing money from mobs and people and used it to build a house for him and his family. And now the money's coming due because he keeps asking for too much. I'm talking about the university. I think she's a university student who has a split personality. Like she's dealing with dissociative identity disorder, DID. And so, like, by day, she's like this tutor, works at the university and this administrative assistant. And then by night, she's a sex worker. And like her fiance, she's got proposed to by her boyfriend. And she's like, he can't know. Like, she's literally talking to her other identity. And she's trying to like stop her like streetwalker self from doing these things. And she can't, until, she ends up in the hospital. You got this one kid who's an egomaniac. Yeah, I don't know how else to. I don't like he. People think that he might actually be the the assaulter. That they think he's Little Slugger because he has like a baseball cap and these skates, and he's like was known as this really really good kid. So he starts like feeling himself too much and getting mad at this other new kid for starting to steal his shine. I'm like, yeah, you look suspicious, my dude. You definitely do. But this kid, he's like so worried about his popularity that he's just getting pushed more and more to the edge. Like he's not about to be school president, and then he gets caught like bullying the new kid, and so that like he's definitely kind of like paranoid around his popularity that he ends up getting not by Lil Slugger too. And even the two detectives are not immune to. I think one detective has a wife who is sick but won't get like the more expensive treatment because she's like we can't afford it. And the other detective who is like anti all the supernatural stuff but trying to figure out like how do all of these things work together. Especially because they get like one culprit. It's a lot. It's a lot. So what is the message here? It's up that we all go through trying times and we don't need someone to beat us across the head with a bat to get out of it, huh? One thing I find really interesting about Paranoia Agent is the attacks take on a life of themselves, especially around wider Tokyo and the individual people talking about it. Where because you don't understand and you don't know the mental state of the people who get hurt by him, so you don't know who's like who's the actual target. Everyone can be a random target, and it becomes this thing where that's I think the paranoia agent part of the actual show is coming into play is this mythologicalizing, and I'm making up a word here, um, a situation, an attack, a bad thing you can't explain, the randomness of violence. Because so for a lot of people, this feels very random. The randomness of violence. People, not everyone is surviving. People are actually dying from being hurt by Little Slugger, and it becomes this like cultural conversation where people want to be close enough but not too close, and then that kind of changes your patterns of how you think about things. So I kind of liken it to school shootings a little bit, so stay with me. I know I'm getting, yeah, um where, and at least in America, because school shootings and like random mass attacks with guns are just like our everyday norm. There comes a point where you can talk about all the ways to avoid it or what do you do, but when what is more interesting to talk about, what do you do in the midst of it, as in your chances of being in a mass shooting event is, is pretty high now because we have them happening all the time. People in America are just walking into grocery stores, walking into malls, walking into schools, and unleashing. And so you're going to be touched by this in some type of way, whether it was directly you or your children, whatever. So I think we have this massive psychosis here in America where, in order for it to not happen directly to you, you're trying to find a way for it to be like 2 degrees separation from it. So like this happened in Florida. My cousin's sister lived in that went to that school 5 years ago. So, or it happened in my town. So I'm close enough to it without it actually touching me. And I think that's what kind of happening with the paranoia agent with Little Slugger, is that like there's a whole conversation of the folk in Tokyo in different neighborhoods who are worried, but like you can't be scared every day. You got to go about your day, and so you're trying to be like, well, I it hit close enough to home where it shouldn't hit me again. Kind of like I'm not gonna get struck by lightning twice, so or I gotta get the fizzle from. Sorry, cat jumped up on me. From it happening twice, so let me just say, like, I was in the vicinity where lightning had struck. Right. And so people, I think, are making light of it when there's a lot of people who are having devastating consequences, and also the people who, again, who were pushed to the brink and are using the little slugger attack as a relief. But it's again a temporary relief. You're in the hospital for a few days. You're in a coma. Maybe there's this one character. She's the daughter of the police chief, and she finds out her dad is crooked, and so she doesn't love the way she's living. And then little sucker happens, and she has amnesia. Life is fine. I don't remember any of the bad things you did, But for how long? And then the show doesn't answer that question for you. Like, we don't get to see these people 5 years down the line, 3 days, not even like a year later. We're dealing with the manifestation that is Little Slugger right now, and how it's affecting this community, how it's affecting these people, and how it's affecting folk who were attacked by the actual Slugger and some of the copycats, because copycats did happen, as they always do when we have a situation of terror, because he is kind of terrorizing people with this bat and stuff. So, anyway, I think like it is shifting the mental consciousness, I think, in Tokyo with Little Slugger. And I think a lot of the bad things that happen in America, a lot of the ways that our culture is built up, shifts our our headspace and our mental capacity for certain stuff. Like me having a conversation with my mom or my dad about school shootings is very different for them. It was like the Kent State deal where the government shot at students because they were protesting about Vietnam. That was something that was like entrenched in them, but also for a lot of them, school shootings wasn't a big deal. It was lynchings, it was like racial terror, like that. They grew up in that time, and a lot of their generation believe certain things because of that. Where I am of the age where I was like in elementary school, maybe middle school, when Columbine happened, and was like that first generation of really like being like, this was weird, but could be done a lot more. And so I feel like a lot of elder millennials, we have this like macabre sense of humor around it, around what school shootings would look like. Like I remember when I ended up going to high school, I was going to all white high school, and I could be like, a school shooter. School shooter. School shooter. Like you're making these jokes about it in a way because what else are you gonna do? And then now we have this new generation. Like now, my generation has kids in school, and we're seeing bigger and badder situations of people trying to outdo Columbine and outdo each other and kill as many people as possible. And our children are not okay. Like they're not. That they didn't have the macabre sense of humor about it because it touches a lot harder. And then now it's combined, not just school shooting, but school shooting and racial terror, where like you can't go to the grocery store, you can't go to church. Dylan Roof, I'm looking at you. Like there's so much on top of it, and I think it does break us down and rewire us mentally anytime we're reminded about the randomness of violence. And again, it's not random because people are choosing to cause harm, especially cause harm around a certain group of people. But at some point, it feels randomized because you don't know where it's going to strike. And you don't know whether you're going to go to a concert and there'll be a terrorist attack, or you're going to go to your grocery store and there'll be somebody who doesn't like the brown people in that neighborhood deciding to shoot everybody. And that is terrifying. And you can't hide in your house because we live in a capitalist society and you don't have the money for that. And you have to go to work and you have to buy groceries and all these other things. So you mentally come up with different ways to deal with this reality. And that could be comedy, that could be anger, that could be an overwhelming need to help, that could be an overwhelming need to isolate. Like there's so many different ways I think we all show up and deal with these like realities of life and stressors in our mental health as this becomes more and more common. The more attacks that we get at Little Slugger, the more the neighborhood spirals, the more people bring up and make up their own stories around what it means. And if Little Slugger is a hero versus a villain versus supernatural versus a actual someone's bad tail little kid. Like it's a lot that could be said about it. And again, I don't want to spoil how the show ends, so I won't say more than that. But I find it's a very interesting study. And how do you deal with a constant fear or overlying fog smoke of like it could be you? And also how people are thinking, okay, if it happens to me, does it give me a reprieve from all the other terrible things that I think are happening in my life right now? And it does. But it's just a reprieve. It doesn't change everything. Because eventually you're gonna go back and everything, like eventually after you're done with the flu and you're healed and you got to go back to work because you need the money, you used up all your sick time, all that work you missed is piled up. Even if people knew you were actually sick for whatever reason, they still feel ways that you were out. Like it's you still got to go back to reality, and then you have to deal with it. And I think that's ultimately why we start and end with our good old main character Sukiko, who starts this whole shebang, and she has to be the one that ends it. Um, because the reprieve doesn't solve it. And I think a lot of us like the reprieve instead of solving the problem that you don't like your job, or that there's too much happening, or that you're constantly busy, or that you don't like the work that you do and that you should be getting out, or you don't like your partner, so you're so happy when your partner is out of town, or you like we like a reprieve instead of doing the hard work to change the thing that is dangerous and causing us pain. And I'm gonna say that because I don't want someone hitting me over the head with a baseball bat. I like my brain the way it is. But that's all I'm saying about that today. Um, if you're dealing with mental health break, don't. I mean, sometimes you just gotta get to breathe. I get to that one little oasis so you can plan ahead. But at the end of the day, know that you still have to do the work to solve the actual problem. Do the work to solve the actual problem. Go talk to therapists. Get the drugs if you need them. Get the help that you need, whatever it is. Stop looking for the oasis to solve the problem. It gives you the reprieve to build up your strength to actually go and fight. Maybe that's the main thing I should have gotten to. That's the main meat of this message. So I am not going to belabor the point. I got to get out there and have more fun with friends. I feel like I'm like bragging. I'm not bragging, I swear, y'all. But anyway, I will see y'all next time. All right? Okay. Bye. Blurred Church of Anime podcast is produced by Black Star, aka Lauren Tillman, written by Lauren Tillman, and hosted by Lauren Tillman. Music created by EL47.